Good evening, everybody. Hello, and welcome to day 2 of Breakthrough. I will give it 1 minute while I wait to see who's joining me live on Facebook. I hope you're all doing really, really well. I hope those of you that didn't manage to catch the live on, what day are we on? Friday, Wednesday. I hope you managed to catch the live now and you've caught up. You've caught the replay. So welcome to day 2. Let's just give it another 30 seconds. We'll just see who's coming live. Hello. I have been excited for this all day. So we will get started in a moment. Let's just go live on the grams. Okay. So as you come and join me live, hello everybody. Hello, welcome to day 2 of Breakthrough. If you're coming on live, please let me know that you're here. Please give me a hello or an emoji in the chat. I know it's Friday night in the UK, so I'm not expecting many people necessarily in the UK to come on. I'm sure you have other things to be doing on your Friday night. Everywhere else in the world, I know it's a bit earlier, so hopefully you'll be able to come join me. Let me know if you're here. And let's get started. So welcome and thank you so much for joining me again. This is day 2. So how did you get on with the last training? How were you feeling after day 1? So just as a reminder, this whole program is about the 7-figure secrets that will help you scale your business, skyrocket your income, and up-level your life without having to work longer or harder or trying another strategy, right? So day 1, we talked about the big lie. The big lie, which was all about success in business and how focusing on the strategies and trying to do the things, taking all the action steps, is just treating the symptoms. And how really, if we want to make monumental change, transformative change, and we really want to change the results that we're attracting to us, that we're manifesting, and we really want to make that difference, we have to get our subconscious mind on board, because it's our subconscious mind that controls our behavior and controls what comes into us. And if that's not on board, it's going to self-sabotage us. It's going to sabotage our behavior and stop us from attracting and doing the things that we need to do in our business that are going to get us those outcomes. So we also talked about the invisible field, the invisible force field that is currently blocking your business growth, your sales and your income that you want. And this invisible force field is your paradigm. It's your programming. It's the way your mind has been conditioned. Your subconscious mind has been conditioned for years and decades even, and it just hasn't been updated. So it's the invisible force field that is keeping you stuck. And we also talked about the hidden internal thermostat that's controlling the amount of success, love, joy, happiness, and money that's coming into your life. And this is all linked to that programming. It's all linked to the paradigm. So there was a lot of information on day 1. We went really, really deep. Some of you it might have been the first time you really heard about the subconscious mind and how it works and why it's a problem if we're going to leave it to run its own thing. We talked about living on autopilot, didn't we? And just letting life happen to us instead of actually taking the steps we needed to and the control we needed to actually create the life that we want. So today's more interactive. It's more of a workshop. So I want to share with you, I want to help you start to see how we can implement some of this right now, okay? So I know that some of you might be thinking that it sounds great, but it sounds complicated. Maybe you think it sounds too hard, subconscious reprogramming. Or you might be thinking that I've always been this way, like it's impossible to change. And I know from some of the group coaching calls that I've had recently that we feel like we are stuck. We feel that there's absolutely no way that we could ever possibly change because we've been like this all our life. And I'm here to tell you that we absolutely can. I have completely changed and transformed more than once over the last few years, more than once over the last year alone. And I continue to grow and evolve and become someone that I've never been before. Anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Okay. So I want to show you how we can start to do that. You might also be thinking that you just don't know where to start. And that's what today is all about. I'm going to give you some tools. I'm going to give you some things that you can start to work on right now to start making this change, to start implementing some of the things that I've been speaking to you about. And don't forget, if you start resisting the idea and you start thinking, this isn't for me, I'm never going to be doing it, all of this, just notice what your mind is feeding you. Because this is just your mind trying to keep you safe, remember? And that's its job. It's survival. Remember, we talked about this. The brain is wired for survival and keeping you safe. It wants to keep you alive. It thinks that anything that feels uncomfortable, or if you feel a slight fear, it thinks that that is a danger to your existence. And its job is to keep you alive, right? So the truth is, subconsciously reprogramming your subconscious mind is simple. It's straightforward. Okay, it's not as complicated as it sounds. And so long as you use the proven tools, effective tools, and you have a process to follow, a structure to follow, it can be easy. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to go up against your programming, but that's another story. I'm talking about the process and the way that you do it. It's not as complicated as you might think. So anyone can do it, honestly. And then when you do, you completely transform your life. Suddenly things seem possible that might never have felt possible before. You break through your limitations. You start seeing life in a different way. And so you start attracting to you in a different way too. So the absolute brilliant thing about this is that you have got what you need right inside you now, right? So all the time we're out looking for another strategy. We're trying to learn this, we're trying to learn this platform. We're suddenly jumping on TikTok because that's the place to be. We're having to figure out all the reels, the stories. We're going back onto Facebook. Facebook ads don't work. Facebook ads do work. Should I be doing Facebook ads? But actually, I'm telling you, just for a short period of time, you don't need to worry about any of that. You don't need to load any more onto your plate, because actually there's things inside of you that you can make a change to right now that can transform the results you're getting from the very things that you're doing in your business right now, without having to learn more, without having to spend more time figuring stuff out, without having to overload yourself and put more on your workload. Okay. So that is the magic of this. So we're going to start today with fear and doubt, aren't we? So let's get started. I am just going to share my screen. Let's just see, share. So sorry, Instagram, if you want to see the slides, you'll have to come and sign up and you'll be able to catch the replays where you'll be able to see the slides too. So let's see. There we go. Let's share that screen. So we today are going to be talking about fear and doubt. So I've got some questions to ask you, and just for you to take a few moments, and you can either drop the answers in the chat or just write them down on a pad and just be really honest with yourself. And it's just a short amount of time for you to reflect and see how this is affecting you in your business right now. Okay, so let's get on to those. So, fear. How often do you step out of your comfort zone? How often do you do that? How often are you comfortable in what you're doing? That's one question to ask. Another one, when you know you need to do something new and it makes you feel uncomfortable, do you try and resist doing it, or do you do it anyway? Just have a think about that. Think about things that have happened recently, things that you know that you need to do. Just give that a minute to sink in. When did you last do something in your business that scared you? Because as business owners, we're always having to figure out things, aren't we? We're always having to try new things, especially if we want to keep up with the world, with other people in our industry, with our clients even, and the things that they want. We have to always try something new. So when was the last time you did something that actually scared you in your business? And what was the result of that? What were your fears at the time of doing that? And how did it feel after you took that plunge and did it anyway? Just have a moment to reflect on that too. How did that feel? Awesome. Okay. So the reason I'm asking you these questions is because fear and growth go hand in hand. And I'm just going to check to see if I've got any comments, actually, first of all. If you're on Facebook, give me a comment. Let me know if you've got any, if you want to drop any of those answers in, let me know. Make it a bit more interactive. And equally on Instagram. Let's just see. So fear and growth go hand in hand, okay? Because you're doing something that you've never done before. It's normal to feel discomfort. It's normal to feel fear. Remember, our brain is geared for survival. It wants familiarity. It wants to know you're safe. It wants to keep you in the same place because it thinks it's doing its job by keeping you alive that way. But the problem is, as entrepreneurs, we have to be constantly living outside of our comfort zone. We have to do new things. We have to overcome challenges. We don't have a book, do we? A book that tells us exactly what to do in exactly every situation. We have to wear 20 hats instead of one hat. So we're constantly having to learn. We're constantly having to be out of our comfort zone. And the more we resist that, the more we stifle our growth, the more we stop our momentum building. And we don't want to do that. So the problem is when we give into that urge to not do it, when we give into that resistance, when we give in to just staying in our comfort zone, what happens is we get a burst of temporary relief, okay? And it is temporary. And it's just, we feel good. We're relieved and we're like, yeah, we didn't need to do that. Yeah, it feels good that I didn't do that. But this relief is short-lived because then we go back to the frustration of not being where we need to be, right? So just think of it like if you're on a diet, for example, you're trying to lose weight or you're on a health kick and you're on a diet and you're not supposed to be eating things. And then you have the urge to just go and eat something and you shouldn't be eating it, but you really, really want it. So you go do it anyway. How long does that satisfaction last for? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Maybe even an hour if you're lucky. But then the guilt hits, then the shame hits, and you get all those negative feelings. And this is exactly what happens if we give in to the resistance and we stay in our comfort zone and we don't move through the fear, is that we have short-lived relief. But it doesn't last long because we have big goals. Our soul is just calling for us to be doing more. We have these dreams and it just feels like we're never going to get there because we keep giving in and not doing the things that scare us. So it's really, really important that we do the things that scare us. But in order for us to do that, we need tools. And we also want to understand where the fear is coming from, because then when we do that, then we can actually get around it. Then we can move through it and we can lean into it and we can do the things that scare us anyway. So I just want you to think about something for a minute. Fear isn't real. Okay? I know it feels real at the time, but fear is not real. It's all in our minds. See, we have control to move through it, to eliminate it, to not pay it as much attention. So as an example of how we make things up in our minds, right? Have you ever had it where you've maybe got some friction with someone, some conflict with someone, and you start imagining in your head a scenario? Maybe you've got to have a call with them or something. So you start figuring out how's that call going to go? And you start imagining their response and your response and their response and your response. And then before you know it, you've gone on this whole thing. You've played out this whole scene. It's not even happened yet, but you're starting to feel the emotions. I know I did it. I've done it before where I've had to have a call with someone and I've had to, maybe we had to confront something, had to have an uncomfortable conversation. And then, I've allowed it to play out in my head where I think I know exactly how they're going to respond. And, you end up getting defensive, don't you? Because you're trying to prepare to have that conversation. You're trying to prepare for worst case scenario. So then they're saying this, I'm feeling in a completely negative way, in a completely defensive way, and actually creating this whole scenario that hasn't even happened, that I don't even know if it will happen. And you come out with it at the end where you feel like it has happened. You've literally put your body through the experience as if it's real. You have vividly imagined it, thinking that it's actually happened. And I remember vividly this happening once and getting on the phone to that person like a day later. And I felt angry and frustrated towards them. They hadn't even done anything. It was all in my mind. I'd created the whole thing. And they were happy, speaking to them. So I suddenly thought, oh, I really did just create that out of nowhere. There isn't an issue. There isn't a problem. And now I feel like a bit of a fool because I've actually been annoyed with you for 24 hours. I mean, what is that about? That's just us letting our imagination run wild. That's us letting our brain focus on fear, what's wrong, what's, the problems, instead of just staying in the present moment. So when we're feeling fear, we're focused on the future, right? We're getting lost in the future. We're focusing on something that might or might not happen. We're not focusing on where we are and what is happening right now. But because we're focused on something that we don't want, the likelihood of us creating that is huge, because we're mixing it with negative emotion, which means we're setting law of attraction up, aren't we, to be delivering that exact thing to us. So we need to really understand the power that we give our fear. We're giving it our creation power. We want to be moving away from that and keeping our focus and our emotions towards what we want, so that we give that our power, so that we create that in our lives instead. So if you think about time, I'm talking about fear and living in the future. If we think about time, there is only ever one time, and that is now. Okay, the past doesn't exist. The future, it doesn't exist. In the past, we were going through now. In the future, we will be going through now, the present moment. We only ever have now, this present moment. And that is the time that you create your life. That is the time that you're putting all the wheels in motion. That is the opportunity that you have to create the actions that are going to get you the results that you want, the thoughts that are going to direct your focus to what you want. It's your opportunity to get in the right vibration, the right frequency, to attract what you need to hit your goals, to create your vision, to create your dreams. So why on earth would we spend now worrying about something that we really don't want to happen, that might not even happen anyway, right? So we're giving so much power to fear, but then it creates exactly what we don't want, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we need to be really careful on where we're putting our attention and focus, certainly where we're putting our emotions with it too. So it's not real, it's made up, it's in our heads, and it's not even what the problem is now. Think of another time where you've been scared, where you've had this fear, you've been worrying about something, and it's come, and in the moment, you're fine, you deal with it, you're good. Somehow, from somewhere, you just, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be, and you just put your head down, you get on with it because you're in it. It's never as bad as when you're making it out, when you're worrying about it coming, when you're worrying about it in the future. It's always so much worse then, because we make it so much worse in our minds. So we want to be really careful of this. So if fear isn't real, and it's not in the future, it's not in the past, right? Well, it's us living, spending our time there. Where is it coming from? That's what we want to know, right? It's coming from your programming. So remember your internal thermostat, the parameters inside that dictate what you can and what you can't have, how much success, happiness, and income you create in your life, how much love and joy you create in your life. It's coming from here. Remember, the minute you try and expand past that, the minute you try and go outside of those set parameters of who you believe you really are, then you're going to hit a fear barrier. You're going to hit a wall. Because what's happening is you're getting really emotionally involved in the idea of what you want. And you really want it, and you're excited, and you're ready to do it. And then the walls come up. Boom, but you can't. You've never done it before. You don't know what you're doing. They're better than you. You haven't learned enough. You don't know enough. You're not qualified enough, etc., etc., etc. These are all the stories, the mind stories. I like to call it mind crap, because these are the things our mind is feeding us to stop us from breaking through that wall, to stop us from going outside of our parameters of what is safe, what is known, right? And that is where it's coming from. So then you end up stuck in this back and forward of, I can do this. Yes, I'm on fire. Do you get that when you wake up in the morning? You're like, yes, I've totally got this. I've got this nailed. I'm amazing. And then 2 hours later, you're like, who am I to be doing this? I'm such a fool. I'm going to fail. I've never been able to do this before. What on earth was I thinking? And then the next day you start again. It's okay. I'm empowered. This good thing's happened. I feel on top of the world. I can do it. 5 hours later, you absolute idiot. You're a failure. Of course you can't do it. They're going to laugh. They're going to judge you. They're going to say all sorts of things about you. Everyone's going to know you're a fool. You're going to get exposed. You're an imposter. Ever heard any of those stories from your mind crap? Exactly. It's just our mind's way of trying to pull us back, guys. But when we ignore the voices, we can hear them, we can notice them, we can acknowledge them, but we can ignore them in terms of we don't have to let them control us. And when we do that, we can start to move past it. We can reassure ourselves that we've got this. We can comfort the voice, we can comfort the fear, and then we do it anyway. And it is never as scary as we think it's going to be, because remember, we're making it all up. We're making it 10 times worse than it really is going to be. So let's have a look at these, my next slide, where I'm going to share some of the, there we go, some of the fears that we face as entrepreneurs. So I've got a little word cloud there, as you can see, and I've shaped it in the sign of a $, because all of these fears are stopping us from making the money that we want to make, right? The fear of rejection. How many of you are suffering from the fear of rejection? The fear of failure. The fear of success. People are just as scared of success as they are of failure, because they're worried that they're going to get rejected. They're worried that people are going to want more things from them. They're worried that the government's going to want to tax them more, whatever the reasons are. People are just as worried about success as they are of failure. The fear of being seen. The fear of being heard. The fear of the unknown. The fear of getting it wrong. The fear of being judged. This stops us from going online and really putting ourselves out there and showing up in a way that's authentic to us. We're so worried and consumed with what other people might think that we just don't do it, and we avoid it, and we don't do what our soul is calling us to do. And it's because of the fear of judgment. So the main ones are fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. How many times have you given into that fear? I'm not good enough. I better not do it. I better learn more. I better read another book, do another course before I can even take that step. Because who am I to do that? And fear of rejection is a real fear. Because again, going back to thousands and thousands of years ago, it was a safety issue for us. We had to be in a tribe. We had to be in a community. Because if we left that community, the chances were we'd die. We weren't, that civilization wasn't what it is now, right? We were staying in camps, in caves. And if we left the community, then the likelihood was that we'd die. So our brain is geared for that. We don't want to be rejected because it's a safety issue, right? But really, none of the fears that were real then, none of the threats that were real then are real now. It's just discomfort. That's the only threat now. And we need to see it and move through it. So let me share with you some of my examples. So this whole journey of setting up a coaching business has been a myriad of fears that I've had to work through. Trust me, I get it all. I get it all. Coming online on social media was not the easiest thing to do. I resisted it for a long time. Even showing up online, I was always pretty private. I didn't share my life, let alone share my voice, what I was thinking. Who was I to be saying all of these things? So the fear was so uncomfortable of just, it felt like I was exposing myself. It felt like, I was worried about being judged. I was worried about being rejected. I was worried about being laughed at. That fear felt so real to me. But I knew I had to do it. If I wanted this business, I had to show up online. I had to move through that fear. Doing my first live I remember shaking. I was literally shaking. I felt sick. And even all the way through, all I was thinking was, what am I saying? I wasn't really present. I was just worrying about what people were thinking of me, what I was looking like, whether I'd stumble on my words, whether I'd remember anything to say, whether I'd sound stupid. But you know what? After I did it, I then committed to myself in my group to do 30 days of live videos because I refused to give in to the fear. And I knew that if I did it enough, it would stop feeling scary. And actually, I would move through that and get over that really, really easily. Not necessarily easily, but quickly. It would happen quickly. I like to jump in at the deep end and just get through these things as quickly as possible, making it super uncomfortable, but that's all fine. And you know what? Going live, I love going live. I'm so comfortable going live, but I still have that tiny bit of fear, that bit of anxiety, that bit of, in the pit of your stomach when you press the live button. There's always that glimpse of, oh, am I going to know what to say? Oh, it feels uncomfortable, right? But we do it anyway because we need to, because our business needs us to do it. It needs us to step up and put our big girl's pants on, right? So, and it was the same thing with getting my first coaching clients. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink. It was the same thing getting my first coaching clients. Who am I to be doing this? The imposter syndrome kicked up in full force, tried to keep me safe, just tried to stop me from getting clients. It was that the voice of fear was so much louder than my calling, than the need to help people. I was so consumed with self rather than service and fear instead of faith. And it really slowed down the start of my business, really slowed it down because I gave into it. So the thing is, with any of this, when we first do something, when we're doing something new, we're not going to be masters of it straight away. Mastery is about doing the same thing over and over and getting really damn good at it. So we start off and we're not very good at it. If we think about the 4 stages of competence, we start off as unconsciously incompetent. So we don't even know that we're not good at it. We don't even know that there's a thing that we should be doing, right? And then we become aware of the thing. We become aware of how to do it, but we're not very good at it because we're not very practiced. So then we become consciously incompetent, which isn't a nice place. And that is where we tend to start when we're starting new things in our business. Even when we're starting our business, we're consciously incompetent, and it's painful because we know we're not very good at it. But the only way we're going to get good at anything, is to do it. How did you get good at anything in your life? By doing it again and again and again and learning as you go. And the reason this can hold so many people back in business is because it's not just one thing. If you get a job in a business and you're doing something, you get trained on it, and then, you're in that role, right? And yes, you'll expand, and yes, you'll do new things. But when you start a business, or when you're in your business, like I said, you've got 10, 20 roles that you have to fulfill. So you're having to go through this every day, all the time. It's like the biggest personal development journey you'll ever go on in your life. And it's challenging. And we're going to want to give into that fear. We're going to want to stay comfortable. But we just can't do it. So we have to be willing to make mistakes. We have to be willing to fail. Because let's talk about failure. Failure is just feedback. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. And the problem is, the reason we're scared of failure is because we're making it mean something about who we are. We're taking on failure as an identity, which is damaging. It's damaging to ourselves. It's damaging to our business. It's damaging to the money we earn. It's damaging to our success. So when we start looking at failure as just feedback, all it is telling us whether this part's right or wrong, whether we need to try something different, whether it's not the right path for us. And that's fine. We only find out what we want by doing things and liking it or not liking it, it working or not working, right? So it's all good. It's all good. We need to fail forward. We need to be willing, because if you're not willing to fail, then you're choosing not to succeed because you're holding yourself back. To avoid failure, which means you're also saying no to success, because how are you going to succeed if you don't move towards it? So you're choosing to fail then, right? So let's just go on to the next slide. So we need to be willing to get uncomfortable. And you've heard the phrase about getting comfortable, feeling uncomfortable. It's about getting used to it. Like you're never not going to feel uncomfortable. There's always going to be new things to do. There's always going to be things that you have to grow, especially as your goals grow. If you want to hit 7 figures, if you want to hit 8 figures, whatever it is, you're going to have to become different. You're going to have to do different things in your business. You're going to have to be different. You're going to have to show up differently. And that is going to be uncomfortable. So we have to get used to that. You will be challenged. And the more you're able to navigate through fear, the more success you're going to create and the faster you're going to create it. So you want to, I've got 4 steps for you. You want to recognize the fear, recognize that it's fear talking. Okay. Listen out and see it for what it is. Number 2, be compassionate with yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time for it. Don't fight it. Don't build up resistance, because what you resist persists, right? So it's just going to get worse. Number 3, take it as a sign that you're on track. If you're feeling fear, it's brilliant, because it means you've got something to grow through. It means that you're getting out of your comfort zone. It means that you're getting to the next level of you. And number 4, do it anyway. And I've got a tool in a minute I'm going to share with you that I call the Fear Buster. And when you use that, you'll set yourself up to be able to work through it. Okay. So there is a tool that in The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's one of my favorite books. I'm reading it again at the moment. He talks about a psychiatrist, Fritz Perls, who says that we can turn fear as excitement without the breath. So fear and excitement are 2 very similar energies. Obviously, they're on completely separate ends of the scale. So you've got high vibe, excitement up here, on a different frequency. That's on the frequency of all the things that we want. It's on a high vibration. Fear is on a very low vibration. It's all the way down here. And it's a very negative energy. It's a very low energy. But they're both similar energies. And what he means by that is, imagine if you're about to go on a roller coaster ride, for example. Remember that nervous excitement? When you feel nervous excitement, like you've got the 2 combined because they're similar, right? You get on a roller coaster, you get on the top, you don't know if you're scared or excited. You feel both at the same time. So what he said was, you can transcend fear into acceleration. And because we know that energy is never created or destroyed, okay, it's just transmuted. So your feeling of fear is energy. So we can transmute that into something else. We can transmute it into something positive. So we can turn that into excitement, and then we can turn that into exhilaration. And then what vibration are we operating on? For law of attraction to give us what we want, if we can move ourselves from fear to excitement, we are operating 10 levels up, right? We are operating exactly where we need to be. So he says, breathe. What you need to do, the difference between fear and excitement is that with fear, we tend to hold our breaths. We're like, oh, and that's what creates that fear in us. It paralyzes our body, right? It stops us in our tracks. Whereas when we're excited, we're breathing still. So he says, breathe through it. Breathe fully into fear. Feel it fully and celebrate it with a big breath, like you're blowing your candles out on your cake. So I would love for you to practice this one. You can screenshot it so that you can try it out afterwards. And as you do this, this is my addition to this. So as you breathe fully into fear, as you start practicing this and turning it into excitement, then what's going to really help you is if you then imagine the outcome that you want. Imagine how you want to feel. Imagine yourself being that way right now, and breathe into that. Breathe into that new version of you and see it and feel it. And let that take over your body. Let that take over your vibration. Let that be the frequency that you're operating on. Then you're embodying your future self. You're becoming who you need to be. And we will talk a bit more about that today. I was thinking, I switched it. It was going to be tomorrow, but it's today. So I better crack on, actually. We've still got quite a bit to cover. So tool number 2 is the Fear Buster. Again, feel free to screenshot this so that you've got this. Anyone that's signed up to the VIP, of course, you've got this in your workbook. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, what are you afraid of? What am I afraid of? What is the fear here? And what is the belief behind it? Because the fear, we'll come on to that in a minute, but your fear is coming from what you're telling yourself. It's coming from your thoughts. It's coming from your thinking. So what is it that you're telling yourself? Why are you scared? What is the fear? And what do you believe about it? And then you want to start questioning it. How can you question this fear or belief? And really start to challenge it. Is it really true? Is it really real? Is it really a danger? Is it a danger to your life? Is it a danger to your livelihood? How real is this fear? What does it really mean to you? If you're scared that people will judge you, who's going to judge you? If you're scared of being rejected, who's going to reject you? Why does this matter? Who are you really doing it for? And really challenge yourself on this and ask yourself these questions and journal on them. Get really, really clear, because as soon as you start to see through your beliefs, it starts to fall apart. The fear will start to fall apart, because your fear is really just a belief, right? So then the next question, what's the absolute worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? Is anyone going to die because of this? When you go live on social media, is your house going to fall down? Right? When you start putting yourself out there online, is something bad going to happen to your body, to your income? No, it's not. It's just all inside your mind. But when we manage that and regulate it, then we can move through it. And once you've assessed what's the absolute worst, and I want you to be honest, what is the worst that can happen? What's the absolute best that can happen? What is the absolute best that can happen when you take this action? Is it going to help you fast track to creating this business of your dreams? Is it going to get you exactly where you want to be? Could you get a client? Could you make more money? Could you grow your business? Could you step into the most aligned version of you? What is it? And then once you've looked at those two scenarios, once you've had a look at what the worst is and what the best is, then ask yourself, what's most likely to happen? Is it somewhere in the middle? And how's that? Because all of a sudden, when we take ourselves from worst case scenario, remind ourselves that it could work, this could be a success, I could do it. And then even if you bring yourself down to the middle ground, what's likely to happen? Then it's suddenly so much easier to go and do it. So much easier. Because you've just convinced your mind that it's not that scary. You've shown your subconscious mind that it's not a threat to your life. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is the cost of inaction? So if I don't do this, where is my business and life going to be in the next 12 years? If I keep giving into this fear, what's going to happen? What's the result going to be? What about 2 years, 5 years? And then once you've established that, what action can you take today to move through fear and discomfort? And then you need to take it. So you go through this process if you need to. Otherwise, if you don't need to, just breathe into the fear and go do it anyway. Hit that live button. Say yes to that opportunity. Go and take the fast action. Use Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Just go do it. But if you've been stuck with this for a while and you need to kind of shift your thinking around it, use the fear buster, right? Give yourself a different perspective and start seeing it in a different way. So what are our fears telling us? Let's just quickly go, where am I? So what are our fears telling us? So like I said, behind your fear is a thought. Thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. And actually our fears are just doorway to our beliefs. So they are showing us, they're an indication that we have a belief that isn't serving us. They're an indication that we have a limiting belief that is holding us back from doing what we want. Okay? So if we want to stop the same fear from coming back over and over again, we need to examine the fear and we need to change it. And we need to change the underlying belief. What is it we're telling ourselves? And we need to stop telling ourselves that story. Because when you remove the belief, the fear will go. It'll either go or it'll be minimized. But we have to look at that belief. This is why the subconscious programming is so important, because dealing with the fear buster, dealing with the breathing it into excitement, they're tools to work with the conscious mind. But unless we reprogram our subconscious mind, we're going to keep getting the same things that we've always had that are keeping us where we are, right? So what are these beliefs? And beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. If you ever listen to Abraham Hicks, you'll know she says they're just thoughts you keep thinking. They're not real. Beliefs aren't real either. None of this stuff's real. What's real is whatever we want to be real. But we're choosing all the bad stuff. We're choosing all the things that we don't want and circulating that in our mind over and over again, not realizing that we're putting that out to the universe. We're allowing law of attraction to come back and respond to that. And we're doing it all without even realizing we're doing it. So beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. The problem is they feel so real. You will be thinking things like, but I've always been this way. But it is hard for me because of this. But that is the way it is because this happened to me and that proved it, and this happened to me and then that experience and then that experience. So I know that I'm not very good at this, or that I'm a failure, or that fill in the gap, because this experience happened. But neuroscience tells us that our brain does not fit our beliefs to our experience. It fits our experience to our beliefs. Our beliefs become a filter for our reality. Everything we do, everything we think, everything we feel goes through our belief system. It becomes a control mechanism for our life, for our income, for our circumstances. And then our beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. So yes, that thing did happen. And then it happened again and again and again because of your belief system, because of your beliefs about it, because of your beliefs about you. Self-fulfilling prophecies. So we have to change our beliefs. If we don't change our beliefs, we will continue to get what we always got. We will continue to stay stuck right where we are. And who wants that? None of us. None of us want that. So creation, reaction is what we're doing right now. Reaction is responding to life, reacting to life, letting outside situations control us, thinking that we are just a certain way and that's why everything's happening to us. But we want to be living in creation. We want to be creating new beliefs, new thoughts, new feelings, new actions, and new results. We live and die by our beliefs, guys. We think they're so real, they become the rules of our lives. And we really, the first step, the most important step, is being able to shine a light on them and actually see them for what they are. And that's where, you know, programs like mine and coaching and things like that really, really help, because you don't even know they're there until they get pointed out to you, or until you do the work to highlight them. So what is the fear telling you, and what is the underlying belief, right? So I've just got some examples of limiting beliefs here, just to try and illustrate the point that our beliefs are really affecting everything. So our beliefs affect our thoughts. And remember from yesterday, our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings determine our actions. Our actions create our outcomes, results, circumstances, money we make, whatever it is. So beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, outcomes. And law of attraction responds to our beliefs, right? So some examples of the beliefs that you possibly would have experienced, or you are feeling right now. I'm not good enough is a belief. This doesn't always come to the surface. There can be a multitude of beliefs. Like this could be a root belief, and then you've got branches coming off. So it could be like, or it could be like the trunk of the tree. And then you've got branches coming off, all these other beliefs that you've got about life, about your business, about you. But actually they all come back to the same root belief, the same core belief, that somewhere along the line you decided you weren't good enough. And this often happens to us in childhood, when we don't have the tools and the resources and the mental capability to manage life, to manage ourselves, to deal with certain situations. We can make a snap judgment at some point, or we can create a belief over the things that we experience over and over and over again. And at some point we sit there and go, it must be because I'm not good enough. And we carry that for life. And this happens to nearly all of us at some point, right? It's a belief that nearly all, if not all of us, have to overcome at some point. So how does this come out in your life, in your business? The belief, I'm not good enough. We start thinking, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I need another course. I need another qualification. I have to get more qualified. I have to learn more. I have to try really, really hard. This was one of mine, right? I have to try really, really hard. We start feeling like an imposter. We start feeling like we're going to get found out. We feel doubt. We feel fear. We feel unworthy of success and money because we just don't think we're good enough. And then how are those thoughts and feelings going to play out into your actions? Because you don't show up authentically when you feel like that, or you think like that. You don't show up with conviction. You start hiding. You're not taking bold action. You're avoiding being seen. You're avoiding putting offers out there because you don't think anyone's going to buy anyway. You don't do the work or take the actions that you've been told to do, or you know you need to do, or the courses that you've already done for strategy are telling you to do. You're avoiding them, or you're doing them in a way that isn't really representing who you are because you're hiding, you're holding back. And it's all because you don't think you're good enough. So then what are your outcome? What's your outcome? Not making the money you want, not getting the clients, not building your business. And then the effect of that, we reinforce the belief that we're not good enough. See how it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? It starts with the belief and then ends with the reinforcement of the disempowering belief. I never seem to get it right. This is another one. I can't ever do it. It never seems to get it right. How would that belief make you think in your business? What's the point? Nothing ever works. There must be something wrong with me. So then you feel frustrated, like a failure, impatient, hopeless. So then what's going to happen? You end up doing too much, getting overwhelmed, trying too hard, doing all the things, being really busy, not taking inspired action towards goals, not listening to intuition, just trying hard. But then because you're feeling frustrated, there's going to be times where you just give up as well and you procrastinate and you just think, oh, stuff it. What's the point? What is the point? And then what does that do? Reinforce that negative belief, right? What about the one it's so hard to make money and create success in business? If you think that, you are going to be working your little butt off. You're going to be doing all the things, feeling like you have to do it all yourself. The longer you work, the more likely you are to succeed. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking it all comes down to hard work. You're thinking it's 24/7. You're thinking if you just stay up and work all night and just do it for a year, just do it for 2 years, then everything's going to be all right. But that just makes life feel hard. And then you feel like you can't be good enough because you're looking at other people win effortlessly. They just sort of seem to be floating around making money. So then you start thinking there's something really fundamentally wrong and flawed with me, right? So you're hustling, you're grinding, there's little self-care, there's little space for yourself. You don't allow any inspiration to come in, any thoughts. You're not listening to the nudges from the universe because you're too busy doing. And this fast leads to burnout and stress, illness, and again, feeling like you're not good enough. And then you're just proving to yourself it's so hard to make money because you're so busy in the action, doing the grinding and the forcing, that you're not following any of the signs. You're not following any of the prompts. You're not allowing yourself to guide you where you need to go. It's like the guidance is all coming to you. You're getting all your answers delivered to you, but you've got this wall around you and you just can't hear it, see it. You don't know it's there. You don't trust it. So you just stick your head down, do the things that you've always done. Just work harder, try harder. But actually, you're holding back the path from being unfolded in front of you. And that's why it's hard to make money and create success, because you're not following the path. You're not even allowing it to unfold for you. It can be easier. We've got to let it be easier. So I'm just going to run through one last one quickly. This is a good one. How many times have you said it or heard other people say this? I'm not techie. I'm no good with tech. I'm just no good with tech. Okay. And that's fine. We all have our skill sets, don't we? But that's a belief. And when we're telling ourselves, I'm rubbish with tech, I'm not techie, I won't be able to do it, what's the point? It sounds too hard. Then we're going to have fear and discomfort towards anything technical. Around learning new tools or software. We're in the online space here. We need to use technology. And if we can't do it or don't want to do it, because we don't need to work outside of our zone of genius, right? There's other people that can do it. But what are we going to do if we have these fears and discomforts and we feel that negative energy towards it? We're going to avoid it. We're not even going to look for someone that can do it. We're just going to flat out avoid it. And then we can't serve the way we want to serve. We can't make the impact we want to make because we're not out there. We're not doing the things. We're not making the customer journey easier. We're not even putting ourselves in front of the customer, right? We're avoiding. So our business doesn't change. It doesn't evolve. It doesn't grow. It doesn't change with the times. It doesn't change in the way that it needs to change. We stay stuck. We won't move our business forward. And then you're just limited to what you've always known. So you are going to be frustrated. And then again, you blame it on not being techie. But actually, the belief that you're not techie has just created all of that. So how about a belief that it's not in my zone of genius, but there are plenty of people out there who are, and I can easily find them. It doesn't need to stop you in your tracks, right? So that's beliefs. Let's just make sure I've covered what I wanted to cover on that. Yeah. Okay. So it's just a little bit on doubts here, because I knew that fear was going to be the big one. I didn't know it's going to take that long to get through. So I hope that was right, and I hope that was helpful. And I hope the tools that I've given you are going to really, really help you break through some fear over this weekend, possibly, certainly before the end of this event. So let's talk about doubt. Bob Proctor said that doubt is a dream killer, and he's absolutely right. It's one of the biggest doubts, though, that we face is self-doubt, which manifests into doubt in everything that we do. And the root cause of that is self-image. So I will come on to that in a moment. But let's just talk about doubt and confidence. Confidence and self-belief aren't something that you get. They are something that you create from within. No one's going to give it to you. You're not going to get it because you did this thing, you ran this launch, you got this many customers. It's not going to come from that. It has to come from you. It has to come from within you. It's not external, right? So unless you work on this, you're never going to show up in the way that you need to. You have to cultivate it. You have to nourish it, and you have to create it. Doubt reinforces all of your limiting self-beliefs and self-concepts. And it continues to create the same situations and circumstances over and over again. So we really, really want to change doubt for confidence, doubt for self-belief. Remember, if emotions are energy, and energy is never created or destroyed, we transmute energy. We can change energy. We can do that with emotions. We can change from doubt into self-belief. And we have tools, and I'm going to share one with you. Just remember, your brain focuses on what's wrong, right? Geared for survival. So we are so good at turning that on ourselves. We are so good at our inner dialogue being full of self-judgment, self-criticism, self-blame, and then we feed the doubt. And then law of attraction responds to the doubt. So the doubt becomes our vibration, our dominant vibration. The doubt becomes the thing that we are attracting more in our life, more things to doubt. So we're going to fail. We're going to mess up. We're going to not have the results that we want. And then we're going to feel more doubt. So our doubt is just feeding doubt and feeding the circumstances that doubt brings. So we have to stop it. We have to stop with the negative and critical self-talk. We have to stop allowing outside events to impact how we see ourselves. Sorry, I think there is someone trying to phone, which is interrupting the live stream. So let's just hang that up. Hopefully I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what is happening now. 2 seconds. What is that? I think it's ruined my... Okay, maybe they were leaving a message. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. So we have to stop that negative self-talk. We have to stop allowing events outside of us to impact how we see ourselves, which means we have to remove attachment to and value to our goals, because we can say, I want to get this many clients this month. I wanted to earn this much this month. And then when we don't, we have so much attachment to that goal that we make ourselves a failure. We make it mean something about us. And that's what really feeds doubt. It really, really is damaging to our self-image and how we see ourselves. So we want to remove the attachments that we have to our goals and just be like, okay, I didn't hit it. That's okay. So what do I need to do next month to get closer? And that is it. Doesn't mean anything about me. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. Doesn't mean I'm bad, wrong, terrible, hopeless. Doesn't mean any of that. So we have to start doing some things as well. They're the things that we have to stop. And the things we have to start are improving our self-image. And I will talk about that in a minute. Seeing yourself in a different way. Seeing yourself as the seven-figure, if that's what you want to create, the seven-figure CEO that you want to be. So for us to hit that million in sales revenue, I had to reinvent my self-image. I had to embody the self-image of a seven-figure CEO. I had to think to myself, what would they be doing? What actions would they be taking? What would their business look like? How would they feel? How would they think? How would they behave on a daily basis? I had to do that. And I had to banish the doubt. And there were times where everything was against us. There were times when it seemed completely impossible. And even starting with that 1 million goal, our business was already declining every single month, and we were almost at the point of losing it. So I had a lot of doubt to banish, a hell of a lot of doubt to banish. So how do you do this? You have to reprogram your subconscious mind with a new self-image, and we'll talk about that in a second. You need to focus on the good, the strengths, the amazing things about you. And you have to look for success instead of looking at failures, reminding yourself of past mistakes. You have to look for the success, the wins from your past, and give them more attention. So let's just talk a little bit about self-image. So Maxwell Maltz introduced the concept of our inner self-image years ago, and it was said to be the greatest psychological discovery of the time. That's massive, right? And what he was saying was buried in our subconscious mind, deep, deep below the layers, not in our conscious mind, in our subconscious mind. We have an image of how we see ourselves, okay? Deep, deep down, it's full of limitations. It's full of our past, of our beliefs about ourselves, our disempowering beliefs. It's full of past experiences, failures, things we were told at a young age that we just soaked in and accepted. If we were criticized as kids, that's all in there. If we were hurt as children, that's all in there. Our worthiness or unworthiness, whether we think we were good enough, whether we think we're naughty, whether we think we're bad as children, is all in there. How we label ourselves is in there. That's just the way I am. That's just who I am. Look out for those sentences when they come out of your mouth. That's just who I am. Always question that, because that's just a belief and it can be changed. So your self-image controls your behavior. It controls how you walk, how you talk, how you show up. It controls your habits, everything. It creates the thermostat. You know, the inner thermostat that we talked about the other day? It creates that. It controls your success and your income. It creates those parameters. And it's all buried in your subconscious mind. So it's not even something that you're consciously aware of. And even when you are, unless you use proven tools and processes to change that subconscious self-image, nothing changes apart from your frustration, because you're aware of it and you can't change it and you can't stop your behavior. And you keep doing things that you don't want to do, or not doing things that you do want to do. And you can't get any closer to your goals and you feel stuck. So the problem with the self-image is, and remember, doubt, this is how we overcome doubt, is by really, really working on our self-image, especially self-doubt. So the problem is there's a gap between how you see yourself now and how you need to see yourself to manifest your dream business and life. So just on self-image, so Tony Robbins says the strongest force in the universe is a human being living consistently with his identity, also self-image. How powerful is that to know? The strongest force in the universe, the strongest force in the universe is a human being being consistent with how they see themselves deep down on a subconscious level. Like, we cannot outperform our self-image. We can't move past it. The only way we're going to move past it is if we change it deliberately and intentionally. Maxwell Maltz said the self-image is the key to human personality and human behavior. Change the self-image and you change the personality and the behavior. This is where it's at. This is the key to the kingdom. Brian Tracy says, the person we believe ourselves to be will always act in a manner consistent with our self-image. Because as Tony Robbins says, we cannot behave outside of that parameter. We have to be consistent with who we think we are. We have to. It's a force that's stronger than our willpower, right? So now that you know, doubt also comes from a belief, and the beliefs are really about yourself. So your beliefs are really about your self-image. So your doubt, any doubt that you've got, the self-doubt is being fed through a limited self-image. Okay? So a poor self-image maybe in some cases. And that's not a judgment, and that's nothing to worry about. It just means it's brilliant because it's showing you what you need to work on. It's showing you that you can change it, and you absolutely can. So we're just going to try one short exercise before I leave you for the evening. Okay? So the truth is, guys, you already have exactly what you need right now to create the success that you want and to bring your vision to life. You already have it inside of you. So you might be thinking, I can't do this. This sounds complicated. I'm never going to be like that person. I'm never going to be able to create this success because I haven't in my past, etc., etc., etc. So I just want to show you what you have got inside of you. So let's just do this quick guided experience. So you're here because you want success, right? That's why you're listening to me. That's why you joined this, because you want to create more success. And success is relative, right? We all have our own definitions. So just think of what it means to you. It might mean bigger business, more income, more balance, hitting certain goals, right? So the problem is, obviously, we give more focus to what's going wrong. We give more focus to what we haven't done, what we can't do, our failures, etc., etc. So what we want to do is we want to shift that attention. We want to shift that focus. We want to start focusing on the good, what we have done, what our successes have been in the past. So if you want success, you need to become success itself. It's who you are being that is causing your attraction. So if you want more success, you need to become success. How do you do that? You embody the feeling of success. You embody the memories you have of being successful. You let that infiltrate your body, your mind, body, and soul, so that you see yourself as successful. Okay, it's a feeling, it's a state of being, and you can tap into it any time. You don't need to wait until you get the success that you want to be successful. You're successful now. You would have been successful in many areas of your life already. So let's home in on those. Let's recreate that success and let that become a dominant vibration instead of doubt. So how are we going to do this? So just close your eyes for a minute, okay? Just close your eyes and relax just for a minute. Take a couple of deep breaths. And just think of a time in your life where you have created success. It could be business or personal. It could be 40 years ago or 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. Where have you been successful? Where have you displayed that in your life? It could be overcoming a challenge. It could be something that you've achieved. It could be an award you won. It could be something you got at school. It could be starting the business. It could be getting your first client. There's success in everything that we do, small and big, and we don't want to use size here. It's all relative. So it all counts right now. So just pick something, anything that's come to mind. And I want you to really focus in on that memory. Really feel it. Bring it up in your mind as best you can see it. And just relive it. Feel it again. Feel into that. How does it feel? How did you feel? What were those emotions that came up? Were you jumping around with joy? Were you celebrating with someone? Telling someone all about it? Were you feeling really proud of yourself? Were you feeling gobsmacked? What was it for you? How did you feel? And who did you have to become to create that success? What did it take from you? What characteristics did you have to embody? What did you have to believe about yourself? And how can you use this to create more success in your life? Just let that sink in. What do you need to do? Now, before we open our eyes, just like you to think about another time. A time that you've had to display courage. Now think of a challenge that you had to overcome, something that felt so hard at the time, something that looking back, while you were in it, but looking back, you thought, my goodness, how on earth did I overcome that? How did I get through that? Think back to that challenge, that challenging time. And you overcame it, you got through it. How did you do that? How did you surprise yourself looking back? What did it take from you? How did you have to think, feel, and believe in order to act from courage? And how can you remind yourself of this more often? Okay. Open your eyes and feel free to share the insights. I'll check the comments in a moment. But for now, can you see that what you need is already inside of you? Can you see that you have already demonstrated these things in your life? You will have demonstrated every quality, every emotion that you want to feel, that you want to bring in, that you know you need to display right now. You would have experienced it before, all the characteristics. So you can tap into that anytime and you can focus there instead of focusing on what's not happening, what's not working, where you're going wrong, the mistakes you're making, the failures that are happening, how things feel so hard. Instead of focusing there, focus on what you have done, what you have achieved, the success you've had, the courage you've had. Keep focusing on that every day. Right, my challenge to you is to come up with 5 memories for each of those. 5 memories for success, 5 memories for courage, and write them down. And look at them every single day and read them to yourself and remember them and sit there in that feeling and allow that emotion to rise up in you and allow yourself to embody those feelings, those vibrations, because you will start embodying success and courage. And that is going to bat doubt away, right? Because you're reminding yourself that you're good. Now, I use a lot of other tools with my clients, some excellent tools, but this one is so powerful because all you need to do is go inside and access your memory. And if you don't have any, which I find very hard to believe, you can make it up. These don't need to be real memories. You can visualize you doing yourself. You can trick your mind into believing it's real because you want to access the feeling, you want to access the embodiment, and you want to start seeing yourself as that person that can do that. And that can be made up. It really doesn't matter. And this is how we overcome ourselves. This is how we overcome self-doubt, by doing things like this, by tapping into what's really inside of us, because it's there and it's ready and it's waiting to be unlocked. Everything is waiting for you, everything that you want, and you have what you need right now. You just need to clear the mind crap. You just need to delayer the conditioning and reprogram your mind so that you can see it, so that you can feel it, so you can start to experience it and let it come into your life. So that brings us to a close. That brings us to the end of day 2, guys. So now you've got the tools to break through fear and doubt. Again, I share so many more of these in Unstoppable and with my clients, but I've given you some to get you started, okay? You know that fear shines a light on your limiting beliefs. So it's helpful because it shows you what you have to work on. And you know that your self-doubt is showing you that there's self-image work to do. So again, it's a good thing because it's showing you where you can improve, where you can change. It's all a reflection of what you need to work on. How amazing is that, right? So in day 3, which is Monday evening, 6 o'clock BST, 1 p.m. EST, day 3, we are going to be covering the 7-figure mindset shifts to make a quantum leap in your business, income, and life. So I'm going to be sharing the things that I had to change in me in order to hit 7 figures. And I'm also going to be sharing my 6 steps or 6 pillars to becoming an aligned and unstoppable 7-figure entrepreneur. Okay, I will give you the steps, which can be your blueprint for change. So make sure you don't miss that. Okay, and I will look forward to seeing you again on Monday. So right now, let's just check the messages. Okay. So right now, we're going to start the VIP group coaching. So if you are in the VIP group, we're going to be starting it in 5 minutes. That's enough to have a quick toilet and drink break. If you're not in the VIP group and you want to come and join us, quickly, there's a link in the post in Facebook. quickly sign up. You'll be sent the Zoom link straight away and you can just hop straight into the call. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending your time. Thank you so much for watching either live or on the replay. Remember, if you watch the replay, make sure you drop me a comment. Let me know that you've been here. I would really appreciate that. I want to see who's out there, who I'm helping. I'd love to know. So have an amazing weekend, guys. I look forward to seeing you again on Monday. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.